Just the amount of taxes they're getting from Colorado. Colorado has fucking changed. I mean, it is morphing right in front of our eyes and becoming this free utopia. Yeah, you got a lot of dirty hippies there and a lot of fucking homeless people, but that's part of the rap. You're going to get that.
They don't bother anybody, though. We know that.
I mean, they might bother you a little bit, but whatever.
Ask for some change.
Yeah, who gives a shit? I mean, that's...
So why don't conservatives see this?
Point 1. No pretense at objectivity anymore. And here we go. I was waiting for this to happen. So apparently, according to the one phrase, so why don't conservatives see this, all of a sudden we're back to blaming the political party that we don't associate with. All pretense at objectivity, all hope of anyone that identifies with the conservative movement in the United States listening is gone. With good reason, you hack. Up until now, I had respect for you, Michael Wood Jr. Not a lot, but at least some. Because at least you not only genuinely seem to care, you didn't go all reverse Fox News on the people viewing this podcast. Now you've completely abandoned any idea that your fight is for the ideal, and instead lay the blame squarely in the lap of people that are of a certain political party, seemingly giving a pass to the opposite party. Here's a hint. All parties are crooked as shit. And to single out a particular party means that you're either shilling for the other party, or your mind is bifurcated along the lines of political parties. And that is just as bad, because money rules politics, right? So, to identify enough with liberals to mention that you are one, then lay the blame at the feet of conservatives for something, not only proves me right about you having a political, personal agenda separate from what you claim, it also cuts your potential audience by around a third. Because no one wants to listen to you bash them by proxy. Institutionalized racism all over again. My father is a hardcore conservative. And at times he sounds as insane as you do. With his blaming black people and liberals for everything under the sun. Jesus, dude. And it only took you an hour and a half to out yourself? Then there's old Joe screaming, "'Cause they're white," in response to why conservatives don't see something. Damn it, Joe. You couldn't even pretend to maintain skepticism, could you? Come on, bro. Let's keep the blending to a minimum, huh? I realize that you want to make your guests feel comfortable enough to talk to you in front of a camera and everything, but do you have to fully identify with every guest you have on, except for poor Jamie? Him saying that Tosh perpetuates rape culture is no less ridiculous than this Michael Wood Jr. guy saying that cops participate in institutionalized racism. Well, now I gotta go beat up a tranny or something. I'm so aggravated. God damn it.
I mean, why don't these states see this?
Because they're white! And they live in the suburbs. They're my neighbors.
Don't they want money? I mean, that money is going to go to their schools as well. That's going to make it safer for their kid to go to 4th of July in the city. That's going to make it safer for all of us. The answer is blatantly obvious that we must end the war on drugs and we must get money out of politics. But we just sit here with sitting on our hands.
Well, I agree with you, but I think you having these kind of conversations live online in a forum like this where it's going to be distributed to millions of people, you have the opportunity to influence people that might not see things your way because you have a genuine insight and a real perspective that very few people, including me, could ever hope to have. You saying this kind of stuff and you talking about this kind of stuff can shed some light in a way that other people can't. I'm listening to you talk here, man. I'm like, you're the fucking perfect commissioner. You're the kind of guy that I would want running a police department.
Point 2. Dear God, I hope that doesn't happen. Can you imagine Michael Wood Jr. as a police commissioner? Every other Thursday is lock up only white people day so as to even the numbers. Every Friday is let's pick up trash day so as to make the neighborhood look better. And every other day is give back the illegal things you pull off of criminals day. Every one of those imagined days is something Mr. Wood has plainly said was okay to do, or what should be done. I have worked for a progressive police chief before, and every traffic stop I was on in his parish, the driver told me that he or she was a cousin of the chief, expecting a dismissal of the ticket out of respect for the chief or fear of reprisal for giving his cousin a ticket. A good cop is impartial to the wealth, social status, ethnicity, gender, or disability of the people he or she deals with. If there is a particular case of a cop being partial, let's hear it. Judge a situation based on what took place, then decide if what happened was right or not. This wouldn't happen a lot with Mr. Wood as a chief or commissioner of a police department. That department would be pandering to the criminals that are active in the area and crucifying cops left and right. Mr. Wood does not possess the ability to be impartial, as far as I have seen from this podcast, as would be required to be a fair chief or commissioner. The chances he would be elected to anything related to law enforcement are slim to none in relation to where I live, and for that, I am infinitely grateful.
You're a guy who's been there, a guy who's served the country, been there as a cop, understands what the problems are, and has solutions, and has empathy, and really you're saying all the right shit. I mean, this is what we need. This is what the police of the departments of the world, of this country at least, need. We need someone like you.
So how do I convince other cops of that? That's my struggle.
Point 3. Convincing other cops. Let's see. How do you go about convincing other cops that your viewpoint is correct? Well, since most cops are highly analytical, factual, and methodical creatures that thrive in an environment that supports their ability to present a situation as fact without having to rely on mental gymnastics to connect cause and effect, my guess is to offer them a huge bonus for signing on and a ridiculously high salary to keep working there. Because otherwise, policies put forth by your department would turn off as many honest and fact-loving cops as possible, so that you could only hire idealistic, highly untrained college kids that will soon find out the real world doesn't line up with what their professor told them about how society should act. The only way that you can attract cops to work for your department as a chief or commissioner is to offer enough incentive that they could ignore your silly rules and ideology in favor of a bigger bank statement, then eventually quit to work for someone that actually understands police work and police. FYI though, high turnover rates usually means either a crap city or a crap boss. Just thought I would let you know.
I don't know, man. I mean, I know a lot of cops listen to this fucking podcast, I'll tell you that. I mean, I don't know if this is going to change them, but they're going to fucking Joe Rogan's high. Listen, you ain't out on the streets with us, dude.
But, you know, you've seen the thin blue line sticker, right?
Yes.
That black on the top, black on the bottom. So we even visualize ourselves the wrong way. So we're this thin blue line, and the thin blue line goes to the middle, and it separates the good guys from the bad guys. And it makes us neither. Our entire mentality is that we are somebody that's separate. We're not the good guys or the bad guys. We're a separate entity that runs this shit. But that shouldn't be that way. That should be like a blurred blue and black. We should be part of the fabric of our society, and we should be ingrained in it. But instead, we picture ourselves like a wall, and we shouldn't be a wall.
Point 4. We shouldn't be a wall. Have you ever had a relative, someone close like a mother or brother, ask you to do a favor, and found that it was difficult to say no? You aren't alone in this. Yet Michael Wood Jr. wants all cops to be like that trusted brother or sister, able to be called on at any time to solve the problems that you can't solve on your own. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? To have someone you value and trust so completely that they can help you handle the most sensitive and embarrassing moments of your life? Not only no, but hell no. There's no way that I would want my sister or brother showing up to throw all kinds of judgment on me for getting caught breaking into a car or shoplifting from Walmart when I plainly have a $50 bill in my pocket. People want someone that they will only have to deal with if they break the law, dealing with them when they break the law. Otherwise, you feel the judgment and condemnation coming from the person that has to arrest you because you did something incredibly stupid at 3 in the morning, not because they don't know you, but because they know you all too well. This is a stupid line of reasoning brought on by the need to argue that everything would be better if everyone just did things your way. You know, like a child wanting something without bothering to think of the consequences.
I think human beings inherently have a problem with power. You know, that's why you see, I mean, you see it across the board. When people have power and influence over people, like, it seems to be a natural inclination to abuse it, and it takes someone of very strong character and insight and objectivity like yourself to not do that, or at least to recognize that you have done that and that it is wrong, or that it was wrong. It seems to me that, like, whether it's politicians or whether it's the military or whether it's someone like fucking Bill Cosby. You know, like, how does a guy become that guy? Well, it has to be out of power. You know, I mean, it's the power, even just, it might be a stretch, but the power to drug someone, the ability to do that. And yeah, I mean, it's like, what is it about human beings that makes them exploit people that are below them instead of trying to raise those people up to their level? There's some fundamental lack of understanding about the brotherhood and sisterhood of the human race that gets, it all gets fucked up when you have a job. And it seems to me that if you have a quota, and if you have a boss that's telling you you need to arrest more people, you need to lock up more people, like, these streets are too safe. Either you're doing the right thing or you're not doing enough. And they almost always think you're not doing enough, right? They never would think, oh, this guy got lucky and he created a good relationship with all these people and we locked up all the bad guys and all the people in the community that are left are all safe. There's no more violent criminals. It's a beautiful utopia of a neighborhood, and we never have to arrest anybody there ever again. So cops will just be there just sort of to say hi and patrol the streets.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. But you see it. Right? You see that. So you see it. So the first step is to recognize it. And so do we have a problem with power? We have as human beings? Maybe we do. So let's acknowledge that and put measures in place so that we don't exceed our power boundaries. Have some checks and balances in law enforcement, because we have zero.
Point 5. Zero checks and balances. This moment right here is what I've been waiting on since I sat through this entire podcast and decided to put these videos together to rebut the many assumptions I heard and saw. To say that cops have zero checks and balances is the epitome of a biased opinion and unchecked pandering. Michael Wood Jr. has abandoned the truth with this one phrase so completely, it's a wonder he doesn't finish the act by claiming that up is down and the earth is actually flat. I don't know a single effective cop that would agree that there are no checks and balances when the entire job is one big example of checks and balances. Ever heard of Miranda rights? In which cops can have their case thrown out of court for failure to remind people of their constitutional rights to an attorney and against self-incrimination. Or what about the case is thrown out of court because of an error, mistake, or outright wrongdoing in relation to handling of evidence? The idea of zero checks and balances only holds up if you take everything else that law enforcement does as granted, not as an effort to stay on the straight and narrow. Irregardless of what happens in law enforcement, there will be someone that insists that things could be done better because the end result isn't in favor of the people that the person making the complaint sides with. And this is what this interview represents. A person with a very specific idea of who should be the focus or not the focus of law enforcement efforts, and why that focus isn't to their liking, at the exclusion of other groups that don't feed the ego of the person doing the representing. Poop. Poopity poop. Big poop. The other side of stupid.